Welcome to today's webinar to automated multilingual publishing for efficient global product communication. We're glad you joined us. What's on the table today? Here's a typical example. A manufacturer or retailer wants to serve its customers internationally. New products will be soon physically and logistically available, and the challenge is now to quickly enter the market, generate sales, and provide the necessary localized documents for that, whether for the next level of local distribution chain or for the end consumer. Of course, translation alone is not enough to serve international markets. You need to include currencies, the units of measurement, your local product lines, and a country-specific regulation. This is often where the plan meets reality. Multiple databases containing relevant product data, or often separated Excel spreadsheets, translations that arrive at different times, and manual InDesign work. This is exactly where InBetween comes in. With us, this becomes a clearly structured process that makes the work much easier and faster, thanks to the automated, consistent, multilingual production of marketing and sales material. Here is a brief visual explanation of the basic principle. Our clients' content management systems are integrated with InBetween, which serve as a templating system and a publication generator. InBetween does not replace any systems, rather it connects them and, so to speak, merges the content with the templates so to create finished documents. My dear colleague Stefan will now dive deeper into this topic for you.
Hi all, I'm Stefan Büttner, Senior Consultant at InBetween, and I want to show you 4 typical publishing approaches that our customers using today. So first approach is if you have a master language first and you don't have any translations, then you can generate a document, and by using the update groups, you can update that document with other languages later on at a later point of time. The approach 2 is to generate all language versions simultaneously by using a multi-layer in InDesign. That means that each language becomes its own layer in Adobe InDesign. Approach number 3 is to create country-specific publications on demand. And doing this, we can use an InBetween so-called language parameter to generate the wanted output language. Approach 4 is to generate customized publications tailored to each target market by doing a regeneration each time the data changes. So any of those approaches can be done with any publication, can be catalog, price list, data sheet, and more. So first approach, creating multiple language versions from a single master template. That is done most of the times when you only have a master language created and the translation text for products are coming later in your company. So you have one product assortment for all countries, you have consistent structure, and only one language at generation time. Once you create the master with the master template, and this master template will then be used for all language versions. But once you've created a document, you are using so-called update groups. And update groups, here in that case, of course, the update groups are based on the language-dependent text, but you can also use update groups maybe for prices, of course, that change regularly, or for other attribute values. You're completely free in the project to use those update groups. When you are updating, the layout automatically adapts to different text length in your text frames, but images and graphics are placed on a separate layer, so they remain unchanged. And by this behavior, you can save a lot of money during the print process, because you don't have to do all the plates again for all the colors. You only replace the black plate that contains the text for the different languages. That can save cost, of course, during the printing process. So here's an example from one of our customers. It's Art Deco. They have an identical layout for all languages, and this is point of sales materials, of course, for drugstore counters. And my daughter, of course, she loves those things. Each time she goes to the drugstore, she has to check out these panels there, and they produce around about 1,000 inserts, display panels for the drugstores in 12 languages, and updates are coming up to 10 times per year. Let's check once. So this is a layout from them. As you can see now, this is InDesign interface, and InBetween comes with an InBetween InDesign plugin. And by using this plugin, you can see your product data right straight in the InDesign UI here. It's showing up, and there's no need to switch any system. You can directly see which product is listed here. You can see any updates from data directly here in InDesign. We have those update groups, and yellow marked are the updates groups here, like text, prices, and icons. They automatically adapt during the update process, but the blue surrounded images, they remain completely unchanged. That's what I said if we switch the language. And now on top right, you can see there is a kind of drop down where you can choose a different language. In that case, we will choose SVN, that's for Slovenian language. And then on the next chart, we see what will happen then. Let's go for next chart here. Now you can see the list of those update groups, and the InBetween plugin will directly show you where the update groups have changed and where not. So green still stays the same, and the red marked lines, they have changed. And our customers use it differently. There are customers who really want to check here manually what's coming from the PIM system, and other customers, they say straight away, okay, now let's do an update of the whole document and switch the language this way. So now, and the update is done, you can see the Slovenian text here. So there's no need to go to the PIM system or anything. You can directly stay in InDesign. But of course, not all of our customers are really using that Adobe InDesign client. So there are others who say, oh, why do I need InDesign? I prefer to do this in a web tool. So on the next slide, you see, this is, yeah, of course, data must be there. Here you see that's our so-called publication wizard. And here you can do the same thing. You can also see the product data in your browser, see all the changes here, and then you can also update generated documents here by using the publication wizard, by staying in our web front end from publication wizard. If you go to next slide, maybe we have, of course, it's the same drop-down showing up here in our web tool, a publication wizard, to do an update from existing document with a different language. And then, of course, once it's done, you can directly download that file and check it locally if you want to. So the next approach is to generate all language versions simultaneously. And of course, to do this, you need all the translations already done when at the point of the document generation, when you want to start. So here, once again, we have a master template that contains all frames and all rules and all the dynamic we need. And then by using the multi-layer, the languages are placed on different layers. Each language gets a different layer. The text frames are sized to fit to the longest language. For example, English is not a very long language. There are languages like Portuguese or Spanish or even Finnish. Normally they're much longer. And so the text frame height is then calculated from the longest translation text. Of course, language-independent elements remain in the same position across all versions. So here also, in that process, you can save costs during the printing process. So this approach is also ideal for highly automated catalog production. So we go for the next chart, then we see an example with a text frame, and you see English text is not very long, but of course Spanish and French are much longer, and this will be the text frame height then used in the document. If you go for the next chart, we see then a customer example that is Comet Dental catalog. That's a medical catalog of one customer. It has around about 700 pages, 18 languages, and here it's a bit special because two different languages are combined in one catalog. So you always have one layer for primary language, one layer for the secondary language, and then you can switch it on or off later in InDesign. So you can also use backplate replacement, so saving costs during printing process. And yeah, let's check out the layout. Go for next slide. Here we can see a typical table layout here of some polisher, and you can see in the table there are attribute values like the size or length, and these values they are not language dependent. These remain untouched, but of course the attribute labels like size here, these are also translated, of course. So below the table, you can see there is on the left side there's a German text, and below that there's an English text. And now you can see there is some spacing between the German text and English text. And on the right, you can see the same table with the German language switched off, the Spanish text switched on. And then you can see the additional text below the table in Spanish is very long. And that's why the frame is calculated higher, because the Spanish text is longer. And if you go to the next chart, you can also see the surrounding with the colors from the layer in InDesign, because in InDesign each layer gets a different language, and you can see the green German text frame is even higher because it gets the same height from the Spanish text. So by that process, graphics and those images placed always remain at the same position and size. So let's go for the next approach. What else can we do? We can go for country-specific publications on demand. If you have one product assortment and all language availables. So in that case, also text frames adjust automatically. and we can do flexible manual editing at any time, and we can generate one document per language, or we can use 2 languages or 3 languages. For example, for some catalog for Switzerland, often we need 3 languages like German, French, and Italian language. And this is typical for datasheets, flyers, and brochures. So the layout dynamically adapts to the selected language. So once again, of course, you have a master template that handles stuff dynamically here, and then you can work independently, individually in parallel here and generate different documents. So an example is here from that's a German brand Fissmann, very famous for its heating system and climate stuff. They are producing product data sheets with InBetween. For each product, they have more than 40 country language versions which are available, and it's a very country-specific output that is sorted dynamically in the layout. So we have a very dynamic layout that also reacts on different relations, different attributes in the data, and we can see this on the next slide. When we take a look at the data sheet, now there's a German version, and in that German version, the first table shows the product data. And there you can see there are, of course, technical values here, and these technical values are shown for 3 articles, for 3 products. So we have 3 columns generated out of the data. And on the next page, you will see the same product for the Portuguese market. For Portugal, there we have only 2 variants. And so the layout is dynamic. So only 2 columns will show up in that version of the datasheet here. And on the right page, you can see the text, of course, in Portuguese are much longer. So, yeah, you have a very dynamic template here, and you will then, if you have changes, you will start to regenerate those data sheets. Go for the next slide. Yeah. So this is the 4th approach, marketing specific publications. There we have different product assortments for each country. We have multiple languages. And in that approach, we do a new generation for each language. So for each country version, a dedicated data export is created with a corresponding product assortment. So the assortment can differ here, and then we have different parameters. Some parameters are coming from data, like different accessories, variants, but also parameters can be given during generation time to define the publication. And of course, the publication structure follows a standardized set of rules. Once again, we have a master template, and we're also using the same project with the same rules for each country. So the example we have here is customer steel. Of course, it's the leading producer of chainsaws, located here near Stuttgart, and they have more than 1,000 products in their catalog with up to 25 combinations per product. So this catalog we're doing with steel is a bar and chain catalog. Of course, each chainsaw needs a bar and a chain, and they must fit together to make it complete. And they do this by exporting XML data from SAP to a InBetween hot folder. And once it's in that hot folder, generation will be triggered automatically. And then the output documents are automatically placed in an output folder. The output formats they're using at the moment is PDF and InDesign. And this catalog is available in a print and digital version. So every 2 weeks, it's generated, but of course it can also be generated on demand if they want to. So the situation was before they only had 2 catalogs for the bar chain thing. They had a US version, and then for multiple countries, they had a catalog. And of course, it was for the countries, it was always confusing for the customers because there was so much notes and things who were not 100% clear, because the possibilities to connect a bar from a chainsaw with a chain can differ very much in different countries. So now let's take a look at the catalog layout. Here you can see it's a very dynamic table that we set up here. On the top of the page, you see the product. It's here's an MS461. That's the type of the chainsaw we have. And then we have different bars that are available in different sizes, in different lengths, so to say. And then, of course, on the right columns, you can see which chain fits to that bar. So we get that kind of matrix table here by the combination. And here, what you can see, this is now the English version of the catalog. And if we switch one page more, then we can see the table now. For the same product, the table is built differently, so it's very dynamic, because for the German version, there are other combinations possible for the same chainsaw, of course. And if we go one slide further, then we can take a closer look to the table, and then you can see for there is one standard bar, for example, that is called ES Light X, that is available in German catalog. But if you take a look at the bottom in the English version, it's not available. So it's already data driven. The combination is not available in the data for the British market. So dynamically, the table will be built differently, but it's always the same table definition we set up in a very dynamic table, of course. And then we have one special thing, of course, for the United States. In the United States, of course, you have to be very careful with those safety restrictions. Otherwise, it's very risky to not display those safety notices, of course. And here in the US version, they appear at the bottom of the page in that yellow text frame. And even in the tables, there's a special column that only appears dynamically for the US version, which shows that some security and safety devices must be taken into concern if you're really using this combination of chainsaw, bar, and chain in the United States. So here's an overview on our solutions. Once again, a nice table. And here you can choose, for example, if you don't have not all languages available in the data source at production start, then you can go for the approach with the update groups by using InDesign. And if all languages are available, then you can use the 3 other approaches, the multi-layer by using InDesign, or language parameter, even for direct PDF generation or direct outputs, or the regeneration. And then you can check the other criterias here in the table rows to see what's best for you. Of course, at the end of this webinar, you will get those charts, and then you can check out what's the best approach for you, because normally this is, of course, part of some workshop we're doing with customers where we really check what are the prerequisites here and what's the best approach for our customers. So then another thing we can use is that's also a web tool that's works in the browser, the InBetween publisher, and many of our customers, they are using it for their subsidiaries, because with subsidiaries in different countries, it could happen that you maybe send an InDesign document because they say, "Oh, I want to do some changes in the document. Just send me over your German catalog or your English catalog, and then we'll do some changes." And then they get very creative and change the fonts and change the whole CI is no more correct anymore. And by using the publisher, of course, you will have a web front end where a user logs in, and then he can log in, gets exactly his brand, maybe his regional thing, and then he can choose its categories, what document to create, and the language needed, and then you can simply download the document directly from the browser, and that all can be controlled, of course, by the user rights. So you can directly say which project, which publication, which languages, which specific rules, for example, must be taken into account, maybe if they need some security advices or special stuff in their region. But all the time, of course, your brand, your UI keeps unchanged, and it's really perfect in your generated output.
Well, thank you very much, Stefan, for these insights. I think the summary is quite easy to do for me. With InBetween, you can quickly produce consistent, localized documents in any language based on your data sources, with or without Adobe, in your own corporate design globally, and using your centrally defined branding, print or digital. Well, so this is a lot. This is a lot what you can get with us together, and going forward with the international and global documents, global publications. And we thank you a lot for participating in this webinar. If you have some questions, just send them to us via email. We would love to speak with you.
Thank you very much. Bye.